Hello, thanks so much for downloading this product. I really hope you're going to enjoy this. This tutorial is designed to be in addition to the video you will have already seen on the webpage when you probably bought this in the first place. And that was a quick tour. This is a slightly more in-depth version. I want to take you through it in chapters, which you'll find on the YouTube down below. It'll actually show you in different chapters the different segments I've recorded this in. And that's so that, if you're impatient like me, you just want to find something out, you should be able to do that because it'll be more compartmentalized. So how I'm going to walk you through this is going to be a case of just literally guiding you through the fact that you actually have a guide page here. My tutorial isn't going to cover this because I think it's pretty self-explanatory, everything here. So I want to give you something in addition to that. So where I'm going to concentrate my time will be in the three tabs at the bottom here. So you've got cash flow budget, you're planning large expenses, and also the debt and savings. Now, I don't want to spend too long because it's just going to be just too much and you just want to get on with it if you're anything like me. But essentially, I want you to give you enough information so that if you have a question, hopefully I've answered it for you. If you do have questions that this doesn't answer, please feel free to email me info@budgetingandplanning.co.uk or use the contact me on the webpage and I'll get back to you pretty much Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, the usual, or as soon as I can. All right, let's just dive straight in. So cash flow budget. This is designed to be really complementary to your bank account and your credit card statements, should you have both of those to hand. By all means, kind of, copy along as I'm doing it. I've got some super helpful tips here at the bottom, which I might just reference one or two of those as we go through. But essentially what this does is gives you the entire year's worth of planning at your disposal. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it quite difficult to conceive what 10 months' time is going to look like, even though I love my diary and I use it a lot. But this is designed just to bring things closer to you than they currently could be if you weren't even looking at this in a planful way. What I mean by that is for many, many years, I planned my finances purely looking at that particular month. So the more you just budget month to month, the more it feels like you're managing hand to mouth all of the time. So this actually gives you the capabilities of being able to foresee what's coming up so you can actually backtrack and make a few plans before you get there. So the categories you'll see down on the left-hand side here, you've got your income. Now, this is really important. This may sound really stupid, but this is really important to get this part right, because if you don't get this part right, the rest isn't going to follow properly for you. You'll find this looks a bit peculiar here because I've just got it open on my iPad as well, because I just want to reference a couple of notes that I've got. As you can see, Lucy Pryor home account, you'll see that's on there. You can, of course, do that as well. You can have it open on your iPad or your iPhone or your tablet, what have you, as well as on your screen, your computer screen. And that's how it will look. So forgive me if I'm teaching you to suck eggs at any point in time, but I just want you to feel really confident that you feel happy using this particular Google document, Google Sheets, I'm sorry. Here you'll find I've done a few little sneaky bits and bobs just to help you out. So what I'll do is I'll just walk you through a couple of those on this screen. If you see a little corner, you see it's got like a little mark on the corner there, just hover over it and it'll give you a few extra notes as to what's happening. So in this particular situation, you'll see that everything has been formatted for you, but of course the coloured squares, so all of those along here, are designed to add up for you. This is to enable you to do things as quickly and as easily as possible. It will add everything up for you or give you percentages or whatever else it's designed to do. Along the left-hand side here as well, these are called rows, in case you didn't know, and the top ones here, the ABCs, etc., are called columns. So the rows along here, you'll find, again, you've got these funny little marks, up and down arrows every now and again, and you'll see that because it jumps, so 7, 8, 9, 13, 14, 15, so something's clearly hidden there. If you click on one of those, it will expand it for you. Now, what I know it's like when you've already got a pre-made template and you want to add in some extra rows, you think, oh no, I'm going to muck up all of the formulas. So what I've done is I've added a bunch of rows in for you in every element so that you've got plenty of scope to expand those rows and they're fully formulated so you're not going to worry about mucking it up. All right, so to close those down, it's pretty easy. You're literally going to, you can right click on there and hide rows again. All right. So income first, the biggie. So let's pop in here income. Now, you might find that one income in your household is pretty static most of the time. So we can literally lay that out for the whole year. What I will also say is completely customizable. So right now I'm recording this and it happens to be July. So let's do July. Another little tip, little blue circle here, drag it all the way along. Ta-da! And it will change it all for you. How cool is that? So let's just say income one is, let's call it 3,000. Okay, let's drag all the way along. You've now completed one person's entire salary for the whole year in about 5 seconds. So this is really useful. So what you'll see is at the end, it's automatically added it for you. So you've got £36,000 is person one or income one for the whole year. Another side to note, a couple of sides to note. If you are paid weekly or bi-weekly, as I used to be many years ago, that can really mess with your mind. So a couple of things here to note. Every single month, if you're paid weekly, you're going to get 4 payments. If you're bi-weekly, you're going to get 2 payments. This is where I used to come unstuck because I used to try and divide the whole year's worth up by 12 and that would be my monthly salary. It never worked out properly. So there are months in the year which are going to be 5-week months. Now, let me just quickly refer to my notes because I know I've got it written down here to let you know about. So, for example, this year, 2025, March, May, August, and November are the months where 5 weeks occur. You might like to actually, where have we got November here? You might like to give that a coloured square, a little bit different. You might want to change it from white to something else. So it reminds you that actually that's a 5-week month. That can be really useful both in terms of managing your income, but also, of course, your outgoings. Because when it comes to food shopping, fuel, whatever it might be, you've got another week to jam in there in order to make your money and make your ends meet. So now you've got your 5-week months highlighted. The other thing to note is with regards to your income, remember this is your take-home pay, what literally lands in your account. Particularly if you're self-employed, you will find that you may put in here what your earnings are looking like, but actually you've not taken into account any of your national insurance contributions, your tax, any workplace contributions to your pension, etc. So do make sure this is exactly what lands in your account and then you won't go wrong. So income two, maybe this is a part-time salary, maybe it's a seasonal salary, or maybe it's even a side hustle and you don't even know what money you've got coming in, but you kind of have a vague idea of the average, okay? So let's just say that's roughly speaking £500 a month. I'm just going to just pull that right across there and you'll see that adds up. So now here you've got your total income for the entire household, currently looking at 42,000. Now let's just say somebody picks up overtime in the summer. And let's just say that's normally in the region of £250 a month. So we can just pop that in there. But the rest of the time, that's it. It's just a little one-off seasonality. Again, it will tot it up for you and make sure you can now see that your total income for the year is 42,750 in this situation. What you'll also find is it adds it up for you every single month. So you'll see your July, August and September is actually going to be higher than the rest because of that little extra top up that we entered as income 3. And also child benefit and maintenance might be kicking in as of, let's say, November. You're going on maternity leave, your baby's due, and you know you're going to have some money coming in there. So you can pop that in all the way through. Or likewise, if your child's turning 18 or ending a full-time education, if you've had child benefit and child maintenance coming in, maybe that finishes in a particular month. So also very mindful of that. Clearly going to have a huge impact. And I know a lot of people, a lot of parents do actually forget about that. And suddenly couple of £100 is not coming into your account. And that's a big deal. All right, so you can now see what you're getting every single month and you can see what you're seeing at the end of the year. I'm going to show you the bottom of the screen now because this will tally up for you. Because we've not entered anything into the expenses, you can now see that the guilt-free spending has auto-populated, so currently matches your income because we've not taken into account any expenses. So far, so good. Fabulous. Okay, let's now look at fixed needs. Now, these are needs, bearing in mind you may have some fixed living needs as well, but I want to just compartmentalise both of those. If that, any of this terminology doesn't suit you, then of course you're free to chop and change things to your heart's content. But for this, we're going to call it fixed needs. Now, maybe we've got an overdraft, maybe we've got a credit card repayment. We can pop those things in here because they are in need. We've got to pay this stuff back. Maybe you pay it off in full every single month, or maybe you just make a little contribution every single month. But here would be where you would enter those repayment figures. Mortgage and rent goes in here. So let's just give a little example. Let's just call it £1,000 a month, just for ease. Again, drag it right the way across there. We can see the end of the year, the end of the 12 months, we've got £12,000 we're spending on our mortgage and or rent. Now, it's not until you look at the year, the annual, you think, oh my God, that's such a lot of money out of my income. And this is where it gets really interesting because you can then see it in its entirety for 12 months. The cogs will start to turn for you and it will feel really, really different up rather than managing it month to month. Let's just say, however, come next year, perhaps February, your mortgage or rent is going to be increasing. You need to take that into account because it will make, obviously, a huge difference. So let's just say we know in advance it's going up by 100 quid. And there we are. That's obviously going to have a really big difference when it comes to looking at our guilt-free spending because it's going to be decreased by £100. Automatically works out for you. So because of time, obviously I'm not going to fill this all in for you, but I want to just highlight for you some of these key things that are going to make a really big difference. If you're looking at this at any point in time during this tutorial, you think, will you just do this with me? Then yes, I will. We can have as much time as you like. I do mentoring sessions. They're currently £65 an hour. At the making of this video, I may put that up at some stage. I may run the odd promotion here and there. It comes with a very different template to this one. This is a lot more substantial. It comes with a lot more of a simple template. But of course, if you bought this particular template, we can use yours instead and really go to town on it. Okay, council tax, pop that in there. Note, if you pay in instalments, some people pay, completely in a one-up when it's due. You will also need to note February and March. If you do pay in instalments, you don't pay anything. So that's really quite nice because if you're currently paying, let's say, £200 a month all the way through, but then you get to February and March, you don't have to pay it. Now, the reason why I like to mention that is those 2 particular months, you've got kind of £200 a month grace, £400 obviously. You might then think, do you know what, I'm going to put that straight into savings. I'm going to be a really good girl, put it straight into savings. Or you might think, yeah, I'm going to put that into a holiday fund, I'm going to pay off some debt, or I'm going to really treat myself. That is when I'm going to get my hair done. Don't look at mine, it's a mess at the moment. Or you may decide that actually that's going to be used for something else entirely. But knowing that that's coming up gives you that little bit of flexibility, which is where the planning kind of comes into its own. So back through to your energy, your broadband, all of those amazing things. Just as a side note, and I've put it into the guide, I actually am also a utility warehouse partner. If you're in the UK only, this is relevant. If you want to talk about your bills, we can arrange that on a separate conversation that's completely free. We can do a bill review completely free. I can have a look for you to see if I can get your bills cheaper, better value, easier to manage, all that good stuff. If you love it, we can create you a new account. Sorted. It's all completely free. All right, just as a side note, looking guide, and you can see my links are in there. So here you can see your guilt-free spending has changed. You can also see your bottom line. Now, if you ever looked at any business paperwork, you run your own business, what have you, the bottom line is where it's at, which is why I've called it that. This is where you'll find your absolute summary. So what's left over and what to do with it is the bit I really love, actually, because it just makes sure that you have literally planned for everything, or you're using all of your money properly. You've portion controlled what it is that you've spent all that time earning your money for. So your bottom line, total outgoings, will have populated here too. So currently 1200, etc., which has come from the outgoings here. So you haven't got to worry about it. It's all added it up for you. This is blowing your mind. Don't let it. Just go with it. It'll all come clear once you've had a really good tour around it all and had a bit of a play. When I say have a play, on the guide, point number one, step number one, make a copy of this. I'm going to reiterate that now. I can't tell you how many spreadsheets I've ruined and cried because I've just not created a master template for myself. Create yourself a master template. Don't touch it. Use that on repeat every single year, because of course you can use this every single year forever and ever if you'd like to, and only utilize the next one for the copied version, for a play version, and then maybe another copied version for the real deal. All right, so just leave your master copy alone. Let's move down to your daily flexible living needs. Now, you've got a supermarket here, food, pet and cleaning items included, like most of us, or you might actually want to have a B&M home section here, whatever floats your boat, really. I've put in here self-care, prescriptions, hairdressers, all that good stuff, kids' clothes, toys, school. Whatever suits you, use it, change the wording, take that row out completely, whatever you want to do. I don't like to see, this is completely obviously up to you. Some people like to do this, say, no, I'm not spending anything here, and have a list of zeros. This kind of makes my eyes go funny. I would prefer to see completely blank cells than data in it if there doesn't need to be any. So again, whatever floats your boat, do your thing. So your total daily flexible living needs will populate through here. Then we've got savings. Now, emergency savings are, you probably, if you watch anything on social media to do with finance, you probably will have, learned a load of this stuff already. But your emergency savings are not for buying handbags in when you go on holiday, but because they're really good mulberry fakes. Yes, I did that. Emergency savings are literally that, what it says on the tin. Now, you may think at this point, but I haven't got enough money left over to make any savings. Yes, but you have, you see. So when you've actually populated all of your figures, this will tell you how much you actually have got left over to make savings with. Because what we haven't yet taken into account is your actual discretionary spending. So when you fill this in for yourself, you will see, actually, I have got about £800 left over once all my needs are taken care of, all of our family needs taken care of, because I've included gifts, swimming lessons, given to charity, new clothes and shoes will be in your daily flexible living needs, your monthly flexible living needs. That will give you that total. This, if you will, underneath here is what's left over. Pocket money, call it what you like. Pocket money for your kids, pocket money for you, pocket money for your partner. This is all the other stuff. Savings are really important so that we have something to look forward to. We've got holiday funds in here. We've got sinking funds in here. Yeah, I have kind of spelt that wrong on purpose. I'll come on to that later. We've got ISAs, we've got private pensions on here. All right, I've not actually included your workplace pensions on here because I didn't want that to kind of confuse it from a mathematical point of view, because that's already been taken out at source, pre-tax. Hope that settles. If you've got any questions on that, then please let me know. So here, you know how much you've got left to play with for any discretionary spending. Now, if you're anything like me, it's going to be a lot less than that. But from a time point of view, I don't want to be putting loads and loads and loads of figures in here in order to get down to here. But let's just say, okay, just to clear that right way down to make it look really normal, your total living needs comes out at £2,000 for that particular month. You now know you've got guilt-free spending at £550 for that month. Now, as you go through the whole of the year, you're going to have a birthday party here, you're going to have some new school uniform here, you might have new clothes here, go to hairdressers twice a year, 3 times a year, whatever it is. You're now going to start to create an ebbing and flowing picture for yourself. So your guilt-free spending is going to change. Some months you might have 500, some months you might have 100, some months you might have 800. And this is the beauty of looking at this from a what's left over perspective, because it will change. Now, I've just happened to put on here my spending, your spending, partner spending, whatever it is, kids' pocket money, home bits and pieces, garden bits and pieces, because that's just how I like to do it. But You do you, as I always say, there are no rules other than can you afford it? Okay? So here we can see if we're going to be using this my spending. Yep, I'm going to have 100 quid this month for discretionary spending. Partner can have that. He's been a good boy. Kids' pocket money, they can have 20 quid. Home bits and pieces, nothing this month. Ooh, I've got £330. I haven't. Do you know what I could do with some new pot plants outside? Do you know what, I might I'm going to allow myself 150 quid on that. So I can now see my guilt-free spending. I've still got £180. Maybe I'll put that towards some debt payoff. Maybe I'll just bump up my garden budget for this month, whatever it might be. I can see how much I've got. And then when you look down here, I can see my total spent on my guilt-free expenses was 370 this month. My bottom line total income for the month was 3,750. Total outgoings, we know we've put that in place, and therefore what's left over. So we can see that we've got left over £180. So it's just a prompt about what to do with it. And then you can portion it out with however you see fit. So you might find it really useful to have a look at a visual. I've done a really simple one for you. I know there's some really complex ones that look amazing, but I just wanted I like simple. So here is a summary of your year. And obviously the pie chart changes as you go. So with the information we've given this so far, you can see that your total fixed needs are coming out at 14,500 for the year. This is your little total living needs slice, your total spent on guilt-free expenses slice, and of course, we've not yet assigned most of our income. So it's currently looking like we've got £25,880 still to assign. But it just gives you that little bit of visual just to help if that's the sort of thing that you like. So one of the helpful things I'd like to share with you right now is your banking app. You may already do this, but I would definitely advise you, if this is new to you, open up your banking app, perhaps every day when you put the kettle on. Just have a flick through. Or every week when you come to do a bit of a recce on how well you're doing compared to your plan. Let's talk about those things. You can use your banking app and all the categories that have already been assigned or you've chosen as categories for you to make sure that they match on the left-hand side here. So as I said earlier, none of these may be things that are important to you, but if the categories you've chosen in your banking app are called whatever they're called, you can have them matching here. So it makes it really easy for you. What I like to do here is when we've actually assigned stuff, so let's just call this 500, etc., etc. So when I get to the end of the week, I like just to see that I'm on track for that in terms of spending my 500 for the month. If I've overspent, which is really easy to do, I know that the following week or another week, I will probably need to rein it in a little bit so that my £500 is realistic. If my £500 I've assigned for supermarket shopping this month is completely way off, it's already gone to pot, I know, because I've already planned it that way, that, for example, here, oops, it's got to put too much in there, look. I've already signed 500 here. I know I've got a little bit left to play with from down here in my guilt-free spending. I'll make sure that I will just bump it instead to 700. Because if that's the reality, that's the reality. If you can't rein something in, if you can't make a change, if something's just come at you from out of nowhere, as things often do, you just need to rectify what your plans are and change them, okay? Then you can see how that's had an impact on your guilt-free spending, and it might be that something else has to give. One of my favourite films, Something Has to Give. So here you can then see at the end of the month exactly how well you have done compared to your planning. So you open up your bank account app and you can then adjust what you actually have spent. So say, for example, you'd planned for £700 every single month to have on your supermarket shopping, but actually, as it turns out, this month you actually came in at 600. Great, happy days. You might then think to yourself, I might adjust that to 600 as well for the next couple of months because that worked out really well for us. Happy days, you can do that. You can then, see how that affects your bottom line. So your bottom line is really important because when you're adjusting things, it obviously creates a leverage. Okay, I hope that's been quite clear for you for how to best utilise your cash flow budget page.
So let's take a couple of minutes now just to go through the slightly less intense planning large expenses tab. So this is purely for your planning purposes. This does not correspond or talk to the cash flow budget, okay? This is like a separate tab just with like a clean slate for your planning. So again, with regards to the months and also the actual expenses down the left-hand side, it's all completely customizable. So, of course, I would change the months to suit with what we've already done in the cash flow budget. But let's look ahead at some of the annual expenses that you might find just kind of bite you in the butt every single year. Car servicing. I've just had mine done, and actually it's a lot cheaper here in France than it is actually in the UK. UK, you're talking the best part of 300. And here it was about 120, equivalent about 120 euros. Anyway, so car servicing, let's just say 120 goes in there and it's a one-off thing. What happens is at the end of this particular row, it will show you, should you wish, you can put into a savings account, a sinking funds, hence the reason why I kind of like slightly geeky of me spelt it wrong in the first place, because it synchronizes up throughout the whole of the year. So you would need to save £10 a month if that were the cost of your car servicing, if you wanted to make a monthly contribution to this kind of a pot. I think when you're looking about large expenses, some households, you just kind of like just take it on the chin, you pay for it and it's just done. And maybe you go without that month, or maybe you use a credit card that month, which is quite likely. But actually, if you're in a situation whereby really careful budgeting is going to mean the world of difference to you, as it did for me for many, many years, putting a little slice of money aside every so often can be really, really useful. So car MOT, same thing. Actually, I had to have something repaired as well. So that was about 70 in the end. Car tax here isn't a thing. But anyway, I'm digressing really. Birthdays, you might have 2 or 3 family or friends' birthdays this year that perhaps are a bit bigger, or perhaps you want to go all out and go out for lunch, treat them to a nice gift. Those things can get put into here as well. Really great reminders too that they're coming up. Opticians, dentists, school uniforms, Christmas. I mean, you name it. I've just kind of put down there things that invariably do cost a bit of a packet. So that if you wanted to, you could actually have a grand total at the bottom to understand exactly what you are going to be saving every month in order for this to make a reality. Now, of course, if you're starting from any one given month with zero in an account, and you start putting away £15.83 in an account to save it. Obviously, if you've got a big expense coming up in 2 months' time, you're not going to have done the full circuit in order to have all that money saved up. But it gives you a head start, doesn't it? And if you have got some savings going into an account every month that, roughly speaking, kind of makes sense, at least you've got something to pull on if you need it. Obviously, the big things here, weekends away, weddings, boiler servicing, they're the sorts of things that often creep up. So get them in here and it just really, really helps you with your planning. Now, the last tab to have a look at, debt and savings. So what I've done here is I'll split them out into debt management, the top piece here, emergency funds and regular savings, and plus sinking funds here. Again, nothing populates from one tab to another. This is purely for a planning point of view. So let me go through how I've set this out. And of course, if you want to change it, please do, but this is how I like to do it. Alrighty, so let's take a look here at how we're going to manage our debt at this stage. Now, I think it's really important to think about how you want to approach this. And obviously, if you are in a bit of hot water here when it comes to debt management, you might decide to get some external support. Whatever you do, do not pay for debt support, particularly in the UK. There are so many governing bodies who are there to help you, charities that can help you. For example, you've got Citizens Advice, you've also got Step Change Debt Charity, and they are completely free. Brilliant support, and they can help you. So don't try and do this alone. But of course, if you are in a position whereby you've got some level of money that you owe and it is within your capabilities of managing it and your affordability, this is a great place to actually come to start to put some goals into place with perhaps a little bit of deadline as well to help you keep motivated. So let me show you how I've set this out. Credit card is the example I've given here in terms of debt management. Obviously, you put in what you've got. I've said it's a top priority. Again, you can decide on whether that's whether you use an ABC category, whether you use a red, amber, green. Whatever works for you. I've just said it's a top priority for us in this household. Why? This is the big thing. If you've got a really good why, you're more likely to get there. We want it cleared so that we can start to save some good money. Okay, job done. When do I need this cleared by? Ideally, January 26. It's only 6 months till then. I'm going to need to have 2,800 cleared off that card, which is quite a lot. It works it out for me. As you can see, this funny little sort of thing along here is because there's no data to compute. So it's said to me that I've got to then put away £467, or sorry, contribute £467 a month on average, in order that 2,800 is cleared in time. Obviously, if it's more likely to be 8 months, then that's going to change down to 350, etc. Or you can move your deadline if that's just too much for you. What I do like about this, to keep you going, to keep you motivated, the next column along is how much have I got so far? How much have I actually paid off so far? You can put that in here. It's not going to impact anything else. None of this populates with anything else because it's just a planning tab. And it will say to me how much I've got left to go. So £600. Okay, so now I've done £1,000. It's now going to change it for me to say, right, you've got £1,800 left to go. It's just a really nice thing so that you're completely in the driving seat of managing your debt payments. When you've done it, you get a tick. Such a nice feeling, isn't it, to have that? So that's pretty much your debt portion there. The next little one is your emergency funds. Now, you speak to any financial advisor and they will say to you as much as 6 months worth of your essential expenses to be saved up. Not to be confused with your entire salary for 6 months. Although, obviously, if you do have that, blimey, that's fantastic. But 3 to 6 months of your outgoing essential expenses. You know this number because you've done it here in your cash flow budget. Let's refer to it here. Your fixed needs. This is the stuff you can't live without. I'd probably pop food in there as well, obviously. Maybe one or two other things in there, like medication, for example, that are pretty much a given that you need. In which case, get rid of them out of this section and put them into this section if you need to, if that makes better sense to you. So you've got your figure here in this example, 1,200 quid. So of course you do £1,200 by 3 months, £1,200 by 6 months, whatever it is you're looking to create an emergency funds account for. Now, that money is going to be pretty horrendous, in the thousands. I would suggest start small and just grow. £500 is a really nice place to start. £1,000 is a really nice place to start. And again, just follow the columns as you wish. Not everything has to be filled in. This isn't homework. You haven't got to show this to anybody. It's just for you. But it enables you to set some goals and empower yourself to actually get this done. Next section here is going to be your regular savings. What is it? It's the loveliest things in life. Maybe you're saving up for a nice holiday. Maybe you're saving up for a really nice gift for somebody special. Whatever it might be, that can go in here. If it's too much here, obviously, as I already taught you before, you can highlight these particular rows, right click and hide them. So if you only want to see one row of savings or one row of anything, because the others make you feel bad, just reduce it down. Sinking funds, again, you might want to have this as just a one-liner, or you might want to split it out. It's completely up to you. Sinking funds basically are your large expenses, which we've already covered here. So we had a very brief little look through here about how much you'd like to save up. Obviously, something like Christmas, depending on the size of your family and the size of how many guests you might have coming to stay, this might be £1,000 in one hit, particularly if you want to treat the family to something really special this year. But for most, it's probably only a couple of £100. But anyway, back to your debt and savings tab. Your sinking funds, again, you might not want all those rows, so reduce it down to 1 or 2 rows if you wish. And again, it just keeps it compartmentalised for you, so you can really make sure things are working together because it's your dashboard, essentially. So there we are. That is your tutorial for your midlife guide to budgeting for your financial well-being. I'm hoping it will put you in the driving seat so you will feel better about it all. And if you have any questions, as I said before, please do come through to me. The other areas of support you've got here and your cash flow budget. You got a half a dozen super helpful tips here, and you got your guide here, which is slightly different to what I've talked about already. So you got quite a lot of help and guidance here, and there's loads of blogs as well on the web page. If you're not familiar already, there's a Substack where I write stories, so you might want to come over there and subscribe to the channel. It's all free at the moment, at least, and basically there's loads of stuff to get your teeth into, but keep it simple for the moment. Just do this one thing. Take as much time as you need to. Don't stress yourself out. And if you need my help, you know where to find me. All right. Thanks very much. See you soon.